Joining me live is Leader of the Nationals and Shadow Agriculture Minister David Littleproud. Thanks so much for your time, David. Look, as I said, a massive problem here. Developers think the government's target of building 170,000 homes by 2027 is unreachable because of rising costs and labour shortages. How do you fix the nation's housing crisis? Is it cutting immigration, which some economists are warning against because of fears around reduced productivity? What do we do?
Yeah, well, this is where planning is so important, and this government is working on ideology rather than planning. Net migration went up about 500,000 last year when you take into account foreign students. And when they've looked at the migration and who's coming in, they didn't even put in that migration mix around the skill sets that we need. Tradies. You can't build homes, you can't build new units if you don't have the tradies to be able to do it. Now, that just makes sense that if you're going to go to the global community and give it the greatest gift you can, which is a pathway to Australian citizenship, to come to this country, to hone your skills here, to be able to be part of our nation, that you wouldn't look at where the skill shortages are. And the skill shortages are in tradies. And this is all because of the ideology of the labour movement saying to the government that we don't want tradies to come into this country. We want to produce our own. But the problem with that is even apprenticeship takes 3-4 years for a young carpenter or any trade, electrician or a plumber, to get through. So the housing crisis, the cost of living crisis is now. It's not in 3 or 4 years' time. And this is where the government is beholden to the union movement. And unfortunately, we're all paying the bill for that, whether it be on housing, whether it be on electricity, whether it be on your cost of food. Unfortunately, the ideology isn't meeting the practical reality of what's needed. And this is where common sense and some proper planning is required. But this government is being driven by the unions and ideology rather than the practical reality of what's needed.
Just on another topic, Western Australian farmers have seen recently a collapse in prices for sheep. Do we know that that is linked to the government's plan to ban live exports?
Oh, it totally has. It's one of the contributing factors, along with drought and the lack of workers in the supply chain in the processing sector. The processing sector can only work at about 60% capacity because they got rid of the ag visa. The palm scheme now has become unworkable. And so what's happened is the dry conditions meant that farmers offloaded, and we've seen a significant reduction. But investment confidence has gone because they're making production decisions now in Western Australia about sheep. And just remember that in 2020, when the drought broke here, 2 million sheep came from Western Australia to the east coast to restock us after the drought, and it rained. There is no reason why we are shutting this industry down. There'll be 3,000 livelihoods lost in Western Australia because of this. Animal welfare standards will be reduced because we will export them to countries that don't have our standards. Go and have a look at photos of a Sudanese boat and compare that to an Australian boat. Go and have a look at what happens in abattoirs in the Middle East if we're not there. They don't hold Australian standards, and this is what will happen if we're not there. This is a cultural trade. They will continue to take live sheep, just won't take it from Australia. We are cutting and running. And they've got a report that's been done by an organisation that did work for animal activists. This government is treating Western Australian farmers, the live export industry, with absolute contempt. There is no scientific reason, there's no economic reason for shutting this industry down. And what we'll see is that we'll see perverse animal welfare outcomes. These animal activists are morally bankrupt. Go and get photos off these Sudanese and Ethiopian boats and show the Australian people. I dare Animals Australia to go and do that, and I'm sure the Australian public will be behind this industry continuing.
We've run out of time, David, but I just want a quick answer here. The Prime Minister earlier this week in his press conference has ruled out an election this year. He thinks a 3-year term is already too short, so it looks like mid-2025. Is that the right call?
Oh, well, look, he's said that he'll go full term. It's up to him. It's at his discretion, but we'll be ready for the end of this year, and we need to be. But if you want to get rid of Anthony Albanese, the only way is to go to election. But we'll be ready as a coalition. The Nationals are ready and raring.